Hi, it's Diane. Welcome to my basement. Today we're going to be learning about units of measure for length. This is section 15 in workbook B, and it's on page 2. Alright, so what should you ask yourself? What does the word length mean, and how do we measure it? Well, length is pretty much a distance. For example, a meter. A meter is the basic unit for measuring length. But you need a tool. You need something to measure length. So what do you think we use to measure length? What would be a tool or an instrument? Something you probably have in your desk right now. I think I heard ruler. Yes, rulers can be used to measure length. So here is a ruler, and you notice it has a cm. That stands for centimeter. You might also notice that on some rulers it says mm. That stands for millimeters. And some rulers even say dm. That stands for a decimeter. So we're going to be learning about meters, decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters. You can measure them all with either a meter stick or a ruler. Some of you might even say, wait a second, I've heard meters before, but you know what? It wasn't millimeter, it wasn't centimeter, it wasn't decimeter, or even meter. I've heard the word kilometer or kilometer. How would you measure a kilometer? Well, cars measure kilometers with an odometer. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But let's say we didn't have an odometer, we didn't have a meter stick, and we didn't have a ruler. How did people measure length before we had all these tools? Do you know that people used to use the shadow of the sun to measure distance? It's crazy. Also, people would use their hands. But it's not exactly perfect, right? Because one person's hand is not the exact same length as someone else's hand. So they made these really cool tools, rulers, meter sticks, and even odometers, to measure a precise distance or length. In your house, you might need to measure something in meters, but we don't carry meter sticks around with us because they're pretty tall. The average 4 to 5-year-old is about a meter tall. So what people would used to do is they would take bits of string, and if you take your ruler, they found out that 1 meter equals 10 decimeters. And so they would use their decimeter. They would measure it 10 times. 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. And then they would cut the string, and then they would have a meter in distance. So you can use objects around your house, like string or yarn, and if you take your ruler and you measure out one decimeter 10 times, then you would have a meter. They would use that so that they could tell the distance around a tree, because you can't just bend a ruler. Well, not all rulers. So sometimes you have to use tape measure or string. Okay, so we know that the units of measure for length are called meters, decimeters, centimeters, millimeters, even kilometers. Now, let's review. Last year, you learned the length of a millimeter. I want to show you that on this ruler, if you were to mark a millimeter, it's the distance between the tiniest little lines. So it's pretty much a dot. This equals 1 millimeter. If I was to say an animal that's a millimeter in length, oh my goodness, maybe a gnat. G-N-A-T is a gnat. Like a little tiny fly. Let's look at the next unit of measurement would be a centimeter. So, if I was to do the distance of a centimeter, I start at 0 and I go to 1. 0 to 1. That equals 1 centimeter. So the distance of 1 centimeter as an animal, like a pretty big ant. I think I've seen an ant that big. Or a bee. That's a great idea. A bee is about the length of 1 centimeter. It takes 10 millimeters to equal 1 centimeter. Well, we learned about a decimeter, and a decimeter is 10 millimeters. So watch this. 0 to 10. So it's 10 centimeters, or there's 10 millimeters for every centimeter. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 millimeters, or 10 centimeters equals 1 decimeter. And I've seen, what kind of animal is about that long? I've seen a worm that long. A big fat worm, once it rains. They can get about 1 decimeter long. Now, I cannot use a ruler and show you a meter using this camera. But a meter is 100 centimeters. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So here's 30. So 30, 60, 90. I would need 3 rulers, end to end, plus another 10 centimeters. Wow. So if you have a if you have a meter stick nearby, check it out. It probably comes up to your shoulder, I'm guessing. So, you know what a millimeter looks like. It's about the size of a tiny little bug, a little gnat. 1 centimeter is the size of about a bee, like a bumblebee, honeybee. And then 1 decimeter is the length of a worm. Okay, I understand that. What if I wanted to measure the thickness of an eyelash? What unit of measurement would you use to measure the thickness of an eyelash? I'm guessing the millimeter. An eyelash is very, very thin, so you would need a millimeter for that. Okay, how about the height of a door. What would you use? What unit of measurement would you use for the height? How tall a door is? Well, it's taller than me. So I'm going to go with a meter. Yeah, definitely a meter. What about the length of a mouse? And you're probably thinking, Diane, do you mean like the animal mouse? Or do you mean a mouse for the computer? Well, they're about the same size, to be honest. So here's a mouse. What unit of measurement? You could use centimeters. You always start at the 0. Remember, when you're measuring length, start at the 0. So you can start at the 0 and it goes to about 10. So you could say 10 centimeters. But I don't know if you remember, 10 centimeters is 1 decimeter. So do you see where it says 1 decimeter? It's about 1 decimeter. So I would accept either 1 decimeter or 10 centimeters. They equal the same. You could actually say 100 millimeters and it would still be correct. Excellent. How about we try one more? How about the length of a pencil? Would you use millimeters, centimeters, or decimeters to measure the length of a pencil? Now I know you're thinking, what if it's already been used and it's really tiny? I'm going to use millimeters. Okay. Well, what if it's brand new? I'm going to use centimeters. Great. I think I'm going to use decimeters. Well, let's see if you can. Here is a brand new pencil, never been used. I start at 0 and I get roughly 18 centimeters, which is 1.8 decimeters, which is 180 millimeters. So you can use all three. But I would go with 18 centimeters. It's just easier because the ruler tells me it's 18 and it's easy to see. And then someone's going to go, but you said the pencil and you're measuring the eraser too. All right. Let's just do the pencil. So 16.5. It's 16 and a half, isn't it? 16.5 centimeters. Or 1.65 decimeters. Do you know how I know that? How I can easily change centimeters to decimeters? Well, if you look in your book, it says, well, it says a lot of things, doesn't it? First, it says you can measure the size of a person in either meters or centimeters. So you can choose. It doesn't always have to be just one or the other. And it says you can measure the length of a pencil in centimeters or decimeters. And it also says that you can measure the width of a pencil. Some of you might ask about that. The width of a pencil means the top. Can you see that? The top of my pencil. Doesn't like that. Way too close. Okay. Let's move things around. Try again. Go up taller. Try again. If we measure it, it's in millimeters, it's about 7 millimeters. Just past 5. I'm going to try one more time to get it to focus. Ooh, look at that. Okay, so we start at 0, 5, 6, about 7 millimeters. It's less than 1 centimeter. Okay, so either the width is either millimeters or centimeters for the width of a pencil. So I was talking about how did I know how to convert, how to move meters to decimeters to centimeters to millimeters so easily? Well, thankfully, all we have to do is remember to move our decimal point. To shift from one unit of measure of length to another, use a table like the one below. It just so happens I have a table like the one below. And I'll give everyone one of these. It looks like this: meter, decimeter, centimeter, and millimeter. These are all units of length. And then it says to find out how many centimeters there are in 2,314 millimeters, you write 2,314 millimeters, and then find the digit in the centimeter position. So you move your dot over one to your centimeters. So you have 231.4 centimeters. And then if I want to find out how many decimeters 2,314 millimeters are, it's 23 and 14 decimeters. And for meters, it's 2 and 314,000. Wow, millimeters. We haven't learned the third decimal point position, have we? So they show you at the very bottom 2,314 millimeters equals 231.4 centimeters, 23.14 decimeters, or 2.314 meters. They rounded it. They rounded it to 2.31 meters. They rounded it because 4 is less than 5. We'll learn about rounding. Okay. Do you think you're ready, or do you need a little more practice? Actually, I want to show you something. So here's our chart. You can look at it. It should be on your desk. If you have it, take it out. So, I want to show you something. If I had 1 meter, this represents 1 meter. If I put zeros here, it still equals 1 meter. Now, if I asked you how many decimeters make 1 meter, all you had to do is move your decimal point over to the decimeter position. So, you erase it, and you find out that the answer is 10. So 1 meter, I'm going to put a decimal point here. 1 meter is 10 decimeters. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. And 1 meter is 1,000 millimeters. I'm going to say that again. 1 meter is 10 decimeters, 100 centimeters, and 1,000 millimeters. They all equal the same length. So if I said, show me 1,000 millimeters, you would hold up a meter stick. If I asked you to show me 100 centimeters, you would hold up a meter stick. If I asked you to show me 10 decimeters, you would hold up a meter stick. And if I asked for 1 meter, you would hold up a meter stick. They all equal the exact same length. Great. Let's do some practice. Can you turn to page 3 in your book? Okay. Good stuff. Circle the most appropriate unit for measuring each length. So we have a giraffe's neck, meaning the animal. So you look at an animal. Are you going to measure his neck using a ruler for centimeters, or are you going to use a meter stick? Which one do you think you're going to use? I'm going to use the meter stick to measure a giraffe's neck. It's pretty long. It's longer than like a 4 or 5-year-old. So yeah, I'm going to measure with a meter stick. What about a dog's tongue? Blah. Are you going to use a meter stick? Or are you going to use a ruler, a centimeter? Going to measure in centimeters or a meter? I'd go with centimeters. I'm going out of order. I'm doing A, C, E, and then B, D, F. Let's try E. A cat's whiskers. I don't know if you've ever had a cat, but their whiskers, they come off their nose, right? Those hairs that come off the nose. Are you going to use decimeters or meters? I think it would be pretty scary to see a cat with meter-long whiskers, the length of like a first grader. It's like, rah! That would be creepy. Definitely decimeters. Okay. Try a goldfish. Let's say you're going to go, Diane, do you mean like the food you eat, the goldfish crackers? They smile back. Or a goldfish that swims in a fish bowl. It doesn't matter. Either one. Centimeters or meters? Are you going to use like a ruler for centimeters? Or are you going to use a meter stick? Centimeters. Yeah. Oh boy. An ant's legs. You can barely see an ant. I'm not sure how you can see his little legs. You're going to need a ruler and you're going to need a microscope or a magnifying glass. Very, very, very tiny. Decimeter, millimeter. Decimeter, millimeter. Millimeter, decimeter. Raise your hand for millimeter. All hands should go up. I would use a millimeter. And finally, a snake's body. Okay, so this one's hard because they didn't specify, they didn't tell us exactly which snake, because like an anaconda, I would use a meter. However, if it's just one of those like garter snakes, I go with millimeters. Oh boy. You know what? I think I would accept either or, but you'd have to tell me like a boa constrictor or like a tiny little baby garden snake, garden variety snake. Oof. I wonder which one they chose. I'm curious. I'm going to go with meter, just because I think snakes are pretty long. Let's check our answers. A, meter. B, centimeter. C, drumroll, centimeter. Ant's legs. Millimeter, yay. Cat's whiskers. Oh, please be decimeters. Please be decimeters. Yeah, decimeters. Okay, snake's body. Meter. There we go. look at number 2. Find the equivalencies. That just means that they're the exact same length. And you're going to need probably a chart for this. So pull out your chart. I'm going to get mine out. I'm going to pull this chart out. It's a little simpler than the one I had before. So it says 4 decimal point 1 meter. 4.1 meter. Maybe if I move this up, you can see. And they want to know how many decimeters that is. So all I have to do is move my decimal point over to decimeters. So how many decimeters? I get 41. Let's see. Yes, 41. And then how many centimeters? All you have to do is move your your decimal point over to the centimeter position. But look, I don't have a number here. So what do we do when we're missing a number? We just put in a 0. So 410 centimeters is 4.1 meters. Let's check that. Oh, look, I had 2 on there. 410. Let's try one more before I move on. So we have 29.1 decimeter. So look, what I recommend you do is put the decimal point first where it says the unit of length. So the unit of length is decimeter, so I put my decimal point there at the decimeter. And then I have to fill out the number, so 29.1. So you put one number in each rectangle. So a 9 and a 2. And then the 1 is after the decimal point, so I put it there. So that's how you fill it out. You find the unit of measure, and you put the decimal point there, and then you put one number in each of the rectangles. Okay, so now they're asking us how many centimeters. So you take your decimal point, and now you have to move it to the centimeter rectangle, and you erase the first one. So it should be 291. Dun dun dun. And now they're asking for millimeters. So again, we have to move our decimal point over to the millimeter section or rectangle. And we have to put in a 0. So I get 2,910 millimeters. 2,910 millimeters. So try page 3, finish it on your own. And then what I'd like you to try to do is I want you to go around your house and see if you can find objects, maybe 5 objects that are a meter in length, 5 objects that are about a decimeter in length, 5 objects that are about a centimeter in length, and see if you can find 5 things in your house that are about a millimeter in length. That one's going to be really hard, the millimeter. But I know some of you are going to find ways to find objects that are a meter in length, a decimeter in length, a centimeter, and a millimeter. So good luck, stay curious, and I'll see you next time. Bye.